Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and get some things organized here. I did start the stream a little bit late, so I gotta make some minor adjustments. I didn't even make the thumbnail image until about a few minutes ago, a minute ago, and unfortunately, that means people don't get to see the thumbnail early because that is the draw. You see a good thumbnail image, and so I'd imagine maybe some people might wonder about why or what the thumbnail image is about. But before we get to that point, we're gonna go ahead and just kind of give anybody who wants to tune in an opportunity to tune in while I tighten up some things over here. Right now, I'm just tightening up my oh goodness gracious. Okay, that is not a wrench. There we go. My invisible pole. Hey, what up, David Glenn? What are you doing here? I thought you were watching Ironcaster. No, okay. But jokes aside, Ironcaster is still on, and he's a good man. And I do recommend people watch Ironcaster. So I'm not gonna say let the best streamer win because I don't want to put myself down here, but he is a quality streamer. I also like the work that he does on Snowdub channel on oh crap, that's the wrong button. I love the work that he does on Snowdub channel. Well, he doesn't do any work on Snowdub channel. He has a roommate named Charlie B who shows up on Snowdub channel. And yeah, he's an outdoorsman. And I respect an outdoorsman. I do also want to say hi to the Salty. Well, actually doesn't work. He's not, well, he is the, but the Salty Traveling Sea doesn't sound grammatically right. We'll just say his actual name. I do want to say hi to Salty Traveling Sea. One of these days I gotta, consult him, ask him what happened to Texas. But I'd imagine he's traveling, and that's why he's not Texas Sea anymore. And he says, it's all ball bearings nowadays. Now you prepare that Fetzer valve with some 3-in-1 oil and some gauze pads. And I'm gonna need about 10 quarts of antifreeze. Preferably Prestone 1. Prestone. No. Quake Estate. I like the Quake Estate logo. It's got that cool little Q and looks good on the windows. So whenever you get an oil change, you could be like, I got Quake Estate. Or something like that. So where do we want to begin? Do we want to begin in the ocean or do we want to begin in space? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about the thumbnail. How about that? And then maybe we'll jump to space. And then if more guests file in, then we could, file over back into the realm of the ocean. Fletch. I feel like I gotta Google that. I feel like I gotta Google the meaning of that word. Oh yeah, let me get your chat message off the screen. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm gonna Google the word. Oh, the movie from 1985, starring Will Ferrell. Chevy Chase, a better actor and a better comedian than Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell is not bad. I just think the movie's a little eh. Are we looking for Atlantis? Yes, we are looking for Stargate Atlantis. All right, you want to do the ocean. Oh, man, you want my dark humor. You're demanding my dark humor right now, Salty. You know that because that's what we're going to get. I'm hearing background noise from another video, and I need to suppress it. But yeah, if anybody wants to watch the Mech Pit, when my show has concluded, because, of course, my show takes priority. Nah, but jokes aside, I'm going to drop a link to Mech Pit. I do want to urge you guys to subscribe because this is a program that comes on before my program. And we're going to call it a program because secretly I'm programming you guys. I'm like using the 60 hertz frequency to be like Twilight Zone style. Anyway, okay, jokes aside. Let me get my playlist up. I'll show you why. And I'll explain the thumbnail. So obviously we see the Ocean Gate Titan submarine. We see the Hindenburg. We see a little picture of Stockton Rush looking out the window in black and white because, you know, dead man don't tell tales. Well, he tells tales, but mainly because they have a lot of logs and records of him telling tales. We got my little robot guy in the bottom left corner of the thumbnail image. Unfortunately, I only have this tiny image to show you. Wait, can we click open image in new tab? Okay, that's pixelated, even though I have a good copy of this picture on my computer. And then we got a solar system picture here to represent space. So, basically, what? Oh, crud. Reopen that window. So basically, we want to do a couple of things. Well, real briefly, I'll tell you something. So, we're gonna be upgrading PD, you know, PDP 180, the robot puppet or robot mask that I wear on Floral Show. Or I should say that he's a real robot. So yeah, PD, performing some upgrades for my buddy PD over here. He was interested in some structural reinforcement. So this week I'm going to apply some corner brackets to PD and use some nylon bolts in order to, you know, look like he's got rivets or bolts going through the corner. But this is helpful because it's going to allow me to reinforce the structure of the EVA foam that PD is comprised of. The other thing we're going to do is, I'm going to edit this playlist to make sure that it is publicly available so that you guys might be able to view this playlist at a future date. If I can just find the button, you know, this playlist here. I mean, look at that. Look at lovely journalist ladies right there. But jokes aside, although they are lovely, I got to find the button that makes this playlist unprivate so that I can give you guys a link and you guys can check it out. Oh, here we are. I found the edit button here. Because I want you guys to have the privilege, the opportunity. Oh, here it is. I found it. We're going to make this into, yeah, we'll make it a public. Okay, so number one, I need help. What should I rename this playlist to? I named the playlist Titan Hilarity because I find the story a little bit hilarious in some ways, and I'll explain. I don't think it's funny that the 17-year-old boy died. In fact, that's the least funny thing about this whole situation because that kid did not want to get on that submarine. But I find the rest of it hilarious, and I'll explain. I just find this whole fucking story about the submarine hilarious. I remember at the time it was dominating the news cycle last year. It was like one of these like who gives a shit stories. Like I was fascinated by the technical stuff, but like at the same time, I'm like, it's annoying when. So one of the reasons I don't watch the news is because I don't like the slow release, the drip release of the news cycle. I'd rather just like wait till everything shakes out and then get like hopefully get more salient facts after the fact, because you know when you sit at the edge of your seat, I mean I learned this from fucking 9/11. You can watch fucking Fox and CNN for like 5 days straight and barely learn anything new. You do get a couple of useful things from the news cycle back then. For example, I learned around that time that side of the Pentagon was reinforced a few months prior to that fateful day. And that seemed like an interesting coincidence or a coincidental fortune, depending on how you line those things up. Today in 1947, reports were published that a UFO crash landed in Roswell, New Mexico. DJ Ronnie G wants to put out a statement in which I say that I do not believe that the microchip revolution was the result of Roswell. I know it's a common belief, well, it's not common, but some argue, and it's not unreasonable that Roswell happened, and then shortly thereafter we had rapid advancement in integrated circuit technology. But I would urge you all to just, you know, look into the history a little bit, like, not necessarily mainstream history, but, you know, like Computer History Museum. I don't know if you consider that mainstream, but the Computer History Museum covers the, you know, the journals of the early microchip making guys, basically. And essentially, making a microchip is a lot like making microfiche. So, just like how you can take a picture that you get from the photo lab. Wait, where's my... I'm not in the corner. I'm sorry. Let me put myself in the corner. I'm Italian, so I need to be like, hey, oh, you know, like Italians talk with their hands. But jokes aside, like when you got a photo on 4x6 paper, and especially when you have the negatives, the 35mm slides or negatives, because it could be a reverse or it could be a color slide, you can send that to a photo lab and they can, you know, essentially enlarge it. And they enlarge it by shooting it to a projector, or a projector that has light and a lens in it in order to project it onto a larger thing. Alternatively, they can do the opposite, and that's what microfiche is. They take newspaper articles and they put it through a projector and a lens or something like that, and they're able to take a news article that is this big and get it onto something that's this big, microscopic. And you can fit a lot of news articles on microfilm that way. So essentially, the way that you design a printed circuit board, it uses a lot of the same things as photochemicals, a lot of the same chemicals that they use in photography, or chemicals that behave similarly in film development are utilized in order to make printed circuit boards. And that the microchips are an extension of that methodology. It's like, once again, you're drawing lines on a larger scale and then you're shrinking them, but you're essentially using the same method as what you would use to develop photofilm using a different set of chemicals, but you're essentially doing very similar things, or analogous things to silicon. But anyway, let's catch up a little bit with the chat. I do want to say hi to Lady Mist, Amber M. It was good seeing you yesterday, on Floral on Church from Under a Rock. Operation Paperclip or aliens? Ancient astronauts. If the ancient astronaut theorists say maybe. Interesting. So I don't know where to go with that, but there's no doubt, at least from my perspective and understanding of events, that, if not for the conclusion of World War II, if not for the acquisition of Werner von Braun and his teammates, we didn't get all of them, like, of the rocket scientists that von Braun brought. I think he tried to get like 200 people out of, old Nazi Germany. And our CIA was like, oh, we'll accept 50 of these people or 100 of these people. And I think some of it was like him looking out for his pals, while our interest from our country or our agencies were more interested in, like, who has the actual talent. But it was a guy named Goddard who invented rockets, or a guy named Goddard who, obviously the Chinese had rockets long ago, but a guy named Goddard who pioneered liquid fueled rockets here in the United States. And von Braun and his people, some of his friends, they took that research and it allowed them to build, they built upon that research in order to develop the V2, which of course eventually, got imported here and led to us, creating the Saturn V. Of course, I'm fast forwarding, we're skipping a lot of history, but I digress. So let me just make sure I'm not missing out anything. I do want to say hi to Psycho Dwarf 9. This was a product of the Good Idea Fairy. I love it. Hi everyone. I'm taking a break from modding the live stream that never ends. Cool. Oh yeah, I know how that goes. I've been to many live streams that never end. I wish I could, like, sing like Chevy Lewis. I'd be like, this is the live stream that never ends. But, anyway. Shortly thereafter, Bell Labs patents included gallium-based transistors. Well, gallium was interesting. Seymour Cray of the Cray supercomputer. That quote was from the movie Fletch. Fletch Ocean. Gotcha. Okay, so that's a quote from the movie Fletch, or Fletch Ocean. He's like, this message came first, Fletch Ocean. That makes sense. But that is fascinating history. I'm not prepared to go down that rabbit hole, at least not in its entirety. I think that for me to express comment, I either got to be clear that I'm editorializing, or, if that's the right term, or that I need to bring more receipts, or I need to carry my own receipts. And if I don't have receipts, it's not entirely fair for me to contest anything anyone says. Well, maybe not anything. I think everyone's entitled to express stuff. You know what? This isn't a Reddit post where we have to fight by posting bullshit sources back and forth. Shortly thereafter, I read that already. Didn't fiber optics follow? A lot of things follow, but we had a war. We had World War II. I mean, like, you had the vacuum tubes running a computer called the ENIAC that was used for ballistic projections, or to build ballistic tables, so that you could basically, like, supply the cannons, I guess, or I don't know what they would do, but essentially, like, the mathematics behind, like, shooting battleship ammunition, like those big 16-inch guns on battleships. interesting mathematics. They had these mechanical computers on the ships that would take into account what type of powder charge you were putting behind it, the wind, the range of the object that you were aiming at, either through radar or through some optical range finding. And during the Korean War, they were still using the same ammunition, the same powder charges that they used in World War II. So the cool thing about that is, you know, the powder charges deteriorate a little bit over time. And by that point, the targeting computer or the mechanical targeting computer on the battleships, the fast attack battleships like the Iowa class, had to actually take that into account. You actually had the ability to dial that in or somehow account for the, you know, the wear or the age or the chemical wear on that powder charge. So essentially what I'm getting at is I believe there was an incentive to level up, because vacuum tubes are kind of a pain in the ass to work with. They're great for audio amplification. They're not, you know, they're pretty good for that, I guess, but you know, they burn out. You got to change them constantly. Imagine if like every time I use my computer for like 10 hours, I have to open it up and remove a component and replace it, like without fail. In fact, with fail, I have to change components without fail. That's sort of like what the ENIAC was like to operate. So even like then after World War II, we spent a lot of time on logic chips. Essentially like a CPU that resided on a large circuit board or a series of circuit boards that were linked together. And the individual integrated circuits were literally just basic logic circuits, sets of switches basically, like almost like an abacus. And of course, as time went on, eventually by the 70s, we started getting in the direction of large scale integration, where you take all those separate chips and make them basically have all these separate chips reside on one chip. And so, you know, 1949 to 1969 is a far cry. 1979, forget it. Completely different animal. At least that's my opinion, based on the knowledge I have in my noggin at this time. Except for the one kid who didn't want to go. Don't think it's a random coincidence. I don't think it's a random coincidence. No, of course I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that a lot of people put the legwork in to get it to that state. Now, maybe something was gleaned from the crash ship. If there was a crash ship, maybe. You know, I can't rule it out absolutely, but there is a pretty well-developed science of making integrated circuits up to that point, or at that particular time. I mean, like I'd say, research the history, correlate it. If anything, you might become better equipped to, you know, use that knowledge to bolster your position on this not being coincidence. So, you know, same here. Like, I might be able to bolster my arguments by better understanding the Roswell thing, for example, or I might discover that I see some holes in my logic. But I do think that, no offense, a lot of y'all might have a surface level understanding. Well, not a surface. I don't want to. That sounds insulting. I apologize. I had a surface level understanding of microchips and integrated circuits for a long time. They do seem quite mysterious. You know, I mean, silicon crystals and clock oscillators and all of that weird stuff. You know, it's sometimes like, you know, like, it seems extraordinary without having something that can, you know, speed up the understanding of how the hell did we get to that point. But essentially, once you can print a crappy microcircuit that does very little, essentially you're taking a circuit this big and you're getting it onto something this big. And once you could go from this to this, then essentially it's just a matter of miniaturizing it further. And if you miniaturize it further, you can fit 20 of these into one of these. And that's my theory. But anyway, I'm not here to argue. I want to put forth my perspective on that in the most accurate way I can convey. Let's roll along here. And but if anyone wants to post sources, links, or arguments, that's cool. I respect that. I do respect it if you guys, you know, want to share sources. Or if we want to, maybe we want to have a future discussion. I promise it won't be a debate. But I'd be interested in like dialectic, you know, where maybe like different people present sources or stories or knowledge or things that are compelling. That would be kind of cool, if that makes any sense. But let's get to this funny submarine story here. It was until I got stuck in the live stream that never ends. Oh yeah. It was good until. Oh yeah. That was an interesting one. Now I remember. I'm sorry. I had to put two and two together. Amber. A few years earlier, near the end of World War II, there was a massive cataclysm. The force could only have been three things: thermonuclear fission, fuel air bomb not invented yet, or large meteor / Hemi. A truck engine? Hematite? I don't know what Hemi is. Interesting, though. A few years earlier, before the end of World War II. That's kind of interesting. That reminds me of the events that preceded the pilot episode of Earth Final Conflict. That was a series written by Gene Roddenberry. Lizard people like Big Mike. Void asteroid. I want to do voids because I can get jacked mad quick. But, my biggest fear is, one, I don't want to get acne all over my back. Two, I don't want my balls to shrink. And then, have to take voids until I'm 60 like The Rock. How are the turtles? Oh, we'll get the turtle cam up in a minute, dude. Oh, man, Amber. I was watching Squirtle sleeping 2 nights in a row. Oh, it's so precious watching her sleep. Oh, I gotta reposition the camera, but I did position it already. I just gotta get a second camera, maybe. What? Really? Oh, okay. I thought he was literally the godfather of Ron Braun. I was like, what? Nah. But jokes aside, Goddard was the godfather for sure. An offer you can't refuse. I don't know if that's even a line in The Godfather. I just wanted to say that. Usually once every other week. He's doing the fundraiser right now. It's almost every day for 50 days. Ah, God bless. Well, good luck on the fundraiser. All right, I'm going to fast forward to the chat. If anybody wants me to take, or mods, if there's a particular chat message I should, excuse my English, that I should absolutely read, let me know, because I can easily get, wrapped up in the chat. Oh, cool. You develop negatives on Fuji Developer, Fuji Printer, but we use Kodak paper. In my asshole opinion, I forgot. I know that's not what it means. Anonymous opinion. In my anonymous opinion, Fujifilm, in my actual opinion, Fujifilm paper, the machine's made hyper-realistic, ultra-saturated images. Yeah, well, like, Fuji Velvia is supposedly as close to, what do you call it? Close to, Kodachrome as you can get. And it's not quite like Kodachrome. Kodachrome, the guys developing Kodachrome literally needed a chemistry degree. And so, the last film lab in the entire country to do Kodachrome, towards the end of their run, there was a lot of sketchy results, pictures getting messed up. So they just discontinued, like, we're not developing Kodachrome anymore, it's a disaster. And it made sense, because they couldn't deliver, on that anyway. And Fuji Velvia is a nice film. The way I see it, shooting on slide film is like shooting RAW, sort of. In that you could scan it into an application like Lightroom, although I think I should move away from Lightroom. And, play with the white balance and do different things to it, but I mean, I know the hardcore photographers, they want to, they want to get it right the first time. James totally was in darkroom doing black and white processing and printing in high school and college. I wish I have not done any I have not done any black and white developing. I plan to do it soon at some point in the not too distant future. I got some undeveloped film from ValhallaCon and Retropalooza that I need to process. That uses silver, most of which got dumped in sewers. That's a waste of silver. Now, I don't know if the not true applies to something I said, but if it does, I'm insulted. No, I'm kidding. Jokes aside, basic ballistics minus wind humidity, cross-section of the round doesn't change. That's true. Oh, really? Okay, so I got what you're saying. That makes sense. Yeah, I imagine, like, the basics don't change, but also, when you're shooting a 16-inch gun, maybe they have a certain, like, they want to try to get that on the money. I mean, I don't know. Most of what I know about battleship guns comes from Dracffinol, that English guy, and the Battleship New Jersey, USS New Jersey, or Battleship New Jersey Museum / YouTube channel. It's a pretty good channel, by the way. The Battleship New Jersey is presently in dry dock, for routine 10-year-old maintenance. My aunt and uncle ran a tube, black and white Zenith. Oh, wow, about 25 years. Yeah. And it's, sometimes like, you get away with running them for longer. I remember in the 50s, I was hearing stories about tubes constantly needing to be, you take the tube out, test it, see if it's faulty, and then replace whichever ones were at fault. Well, you have a wonderful week too, Amber M, and I want to thank you for dropping in and for dropping a like, because I know that Amber M definitely clicked the like button before leaving. But anyway, moving along here. My grandparents too. My grandfather was colorblind, so he didn't figure out he needed... I don't have to read these messages. If people are responding to each other in the chat, I don't have to read these, right? What up, Caleb? I know a girl. I met a girl at my high school reunion who works for Roland, and they apparently like make vacuum tubes and engineer them, but they're only made in Russia because of environmental. Supposedly, the making of vacuum tubes is somewhat environmentally unconscious. So yeah, there's that. I find it hard to believe that you can't make vacuum tubes in an environmentally friendly way, because I mean it's just some components and some vacuum, and some glass. I built the 70s and early 80s consumer kit computers. Oh, those are cool. With my dad, he had a Timex Sinclair handheld computer, and a VIC-20 and C64. Dude, yeah, I saw a documentary called Micromen about the Sinclair computers, was it? And the other ones. But it was really kind of a cool little documentary that, shows you the era before the IBM PC compatible era, because there was a very vibrant era in the 70s and 80s, during the 70s and early 80s, and I mean the whole entire CPM era. Gary Kildall, who basically got screwed by fucking IBM and Billy Boy. Yeah, that guy. Gary Kildall was a good man, a great man, and a cool dude, and I would totally hang out with that guy and hang out and just chill, do whatever he does when hanging out. The Sinclair sucked. Well, literally in the documentary Micromen, Clive Sinclair is all about building the cheapest, shittiest computer. Not shittiest, but getting more units out. His logic is like, can we sell this for $18? Because we can sell a lot of these for $18, but he tells the engineers, don't show me a fucking $200 computer. We can't sell that. It's like, I want to sell a gajillion computers, So yeah, he did not cut corners, but yeah, he had an interesting methodology, but I respect it. But yeah, I could see the issue there. Oh, cool. He had a handheld computer in the Air Force, a Timex Sinclair, with a tape printer. That's cool. A calculator with a tape printer. Yeah. So, I mean, that predates floppies. That's one of the things that made CPM by Gary Kildall a big deal, was that people with these kit-built computers, like the MSI 8080 and the Altairs even, didn't have to use a telex machine, didn't need to use an ASR and paper tape to get data in and out of the machine. They now were, able to mess around with 8-inch floppy disks, which are a hell of a lot more convenient than frickin' paper tape, let me tell you. What's up, Adega? Good to see you. Yeah, I can imagine those things tend to wear out. Membrane keyboards were the penultimate to useless. Those membrane, yeah, oh god, yeah, those wafer shits. So let's get to the submarine real quick, because I'm dying to laugh at this submarine. Well, not really dying. I always wondered about 70s, 80s fighters and pulse resistance. Interesting. I was in the Air Force. Oh, here we are. Peanut-sized vacuum tubes, which were much more resistant to EMP. Oh. Soviet MiGs used peanut-sized vacuum tubes. That's fascinating. That way, EMP resistant. Interesting. The Apple II. You wrote 2 in that funny way, that Apple. Fucking Apple and their yuppie bullshit. Okay. I'm sorry, that's pretty cool, James. But Apple is gay. The Apple II had ISA slots. It pretty much was the market leader with a cheaper, basically 4004 rebadged as a Motorola 6502 microprocessor. Back then, you could use a good microscope to actually look at the IC. That's true, yeah. You didn't need a fancy electron microscope or some absurd super duper magnification power. 5.25-inch floppies on the trash 80s. Those were the days. Yeah, so there's another thing. There's a documentary called the BBS, Bulletin Board system documentary. It's 10 parts. It's all on YouTube. You can buy it on DVD. You can probably still buy it on DVD. I bought it on DVD. The guy who filmed it and edited it did a beautiful job on the box art. You know, one of these days I'll show it on stream. I'll do a little show and tell perhaps, because that is something worth covering and talking about and touching upon. And I think that we can dedicate easily at least one entire show to the BBS documentary. But even the box art alone is very well done. Some reason, okay, I don't have to read that, right? Some reason Soviets didn't make the jump with integrated circuits as quickly as the US. Yes, because America, fuck yeah. So anyway, let's get to the submarine thing. So I made a playlist, and I dropped the link in the chat earlier. This is my submarine playlist, and I think we need to rename it because it's inappropriate. Titan Hilarity. Now, I don't find it entirely funny. Remember, the people who died in the submarine was some rich guy, his 17-year-old son who wasn't even trying to be on the submarine, and, like, you know, a couple other people, and the guy who founded the company. And this guy was interesting. So, essentially, Stockton Rush. Let's get a picture of Stockton Rush here. He was like a boy genius or some bullshit like that. Yeah, here we are, like a boy genius. He looks like a boy genius. Got like that, like, toupee hair thing going on, but it's actually real hair probably. But like boy genius, or pretty smart, pretty educated. And early in the company's history, I was watching a number of videos. That's why I dropped the playlist link, because I think the playlist will provide context, and I also don't want to plagiarize. I mean, I am plagiarizing, I guess, but my point is, some of the knowledge I gained came from this playlist that I put together. So yeah, if you want to like see it from the various horses' mouths, skim through the playlist. But essentially, the company had like 3 submarines. At one point, there's a ship. It's like a miniature Titanic. I forget the name of it. And basically, like, they were pretty conservative about diving. So they started with like a low dive, and it was pretty safe. Then they built the second submarine called the Ocean Gate something. I forget the name of it already. And that Cyclops. And that one looks like the Titan, the submarine that, you know, imploded recently last year. It looked like the Titan, but it was made of steel. And it worked out pretty well, actually. It was properly certified and everything, and that was fine. Now, of course, guy's eventual goal was to see the Titanic, and that's when he realized that he wanted to do this both cheaply, but in such a way that if he can get more passengers, almost like economies of scale, if you could fit more passengers on each submarine, you could charge them each less money, and you know, it makes it more practical, because normally a sphere is the ideal shape, right? Like, if we do, like, any submersible, like, let me just see if we can find, like a deep submersible. So, in fact, like, you know, like, you get, like, a spherical glass window, or you get, like, something like a titanium sphere like this. And this is, like, the appropriate shape, you know? Like, it's stronger, it's more stable, it's stronger all around, you know, there's no weak points effectively, or, you know, compared to a cylinder. A cylinder is stronger than a square, but a cylinder has its weak points. Now, the problem is if you make a cylindrical submarine out of titanium, you know, of the size of the Ocean Gate Titan, you know, this hot dog looking thing right here. If you do that, it's too heavy. Like, it doesn't float quite right. And so you need to have a lot of foam on the outside to make it float. You encounter a lot of challenges there. So that's why they don't make giant titanium spheres. That's why there's like an upper limit to the titanium sphere, and why they're not making the cylindrical titanium submarine hulls either. Although maybe it's not impossible, it would just be astronomically expensive. So they did 2 carbon fiber hulls. So essentially, those domes you got 2 domes. You got one here, and you got a second dome hidden underneath this cover here made of fiberglass. And the front dome has a piece of plexiglass in the middle, which is questionable, whether or not it was appropriate or strong enough. But let's see if we can find, like, Ocean Gate Titan parts. Let me see if we can, like, get a good picture of all of the pieces here. Oh, we got a picture of all the pieces, all right. So there's a picture of all the pieces right there. Or what was left of it. It's amazing what you can find at the bottom of the ocean floor if you have a general idea of the search area. Now, at the time, I didn't give a shit. Like I said, there was some bullshit in the news cycle. But once the news cycle was closed out, it was much easier for me to, like, kind of like, you know, get to the straight dope and understand it better, you know, or to get, like, the facts that I thought were salient. So, this is fiberglass. Underneath the fiberglass, you have the actual carbon fiber. Let me see if we can get a picture of the carbon fiber here. Ocean Gate. Oh, here we are. This is a good picture right here. So there you go. This is all of the stuff removed. This black bit is carbon fiber. So in my playlist, I'm pretty sure there's got to be a video in the playlist that shows the making. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, baby. All right, let me get my headphones on. Make sure we give you guys some sound. Let me just get the audio queued up for us, for you all here. Okay, good. Audio output is set. Now, I don't really care about this part. I mean,
find that it indicates how long this sphere is, but by the fabric, and if we'll talk, they fails rather.
So carbon fiber, it doesn't flex. When it fails, you get failure, something like this. So, but I want to find a video of the actual submarine being built because it is so cool. Okay, here we go. Getting better.
Of copyright.
Okay, let me just find Ocean Gate Titan Construction. Ocean Gate Titan Construction. Beautiful. Okay, good, good, good. This should do the trick here. Okay, so the first time I built it, they manually wound the fiber. So wait, you got pre-pregnated fiber. So carbon fiber, it's like a fabric basically, right? So you wet the fabric with epoxy resin, and eventually if you mix it with a hardener, the resin becomes hard as a rock. And so if you have two fibers or sets of fibers like this, and they get wet and they're soaking in the fibers, that stitching, like almost like a thatch pattern, is going to stay locked in, and it actually becomes quite rigid while being quite light. So they made it pretty thick, you know, so you can see there's aluminum flange here, kind of shows you this steel flange to show you how thick it is. And the first time I did it, it didn't work out, so they had to do it a second time. And that time they used an automated process to wrap the carbon fiber around the thing. What's up, Pop Culture Mechanic? I should have had Pop Culture Mechanic on for this one here. But it's all good. We'll get you soon. We're going to do Macross, so I got to talk to you. I need to find out, did we talk about Do You Remember Love during the Macross stream? Because I think if we didn't, we should do a stream that focuses purely on the movie Do You Remember Love. But if not, maybe we'll cover something else like Macross Frontier. If we already covered DYRL, then maybe we'll do Frontier or something like that. What's up, Deborah Cohen? How you doing today? It's good to see you. I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm just reading the chat. China supposedly made a monster boomer sub. Of course they made a boomer sub. Wait, okay boomer? No, I don't know. I'm trying to make a corny joke there. I got nothing. Carbon fiber is smooth, like 3D metal printing. Ah, I see what you did there. Some guy have 3 Hueys bulldozed off the pad after hot pickups. Wow. A technology just 5 years away from the last 50 years. That sounds like. We're talking about the right now we're doing the submarine that, you know, imploded last year. Yeah, kind of going into like the manufacturing and stuff like that, and then maybe I'll touch on the Hindenburg before this is over, because I actually believe we should bring back hydrogen as a lifting gas for blimps and airships. I really do. I'm good. Tomorrow's Friday, so I'm great. Boomer, I didn't say that. Oh, that one. Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Platform stuff. Thank you, Salty Traveling Sea. All right. I'm sold because I got DYRL on Blu-ray. So what I can do is I can make clips out of this, right? I can upload them to an unlisted video, see if they get flagged for copyright before I get a strike. And if they don't, I might be able to figure out which clips I can and cannot use. Remember, during my birthday and last week, I used the song from the beginning of this movie and kind of got away with it. Kind of. I believe my movie is restricted in a number of countries right now. My last week's episode is restricted in a couple of countries, but it might be from a clip I showed later on. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Yeah, tomorrow's Friday, Depper. Yeah, because Sunday is my Monday. Tuesday is basically like I'm sorry. Sunday is my Monday. Monday is like a Tuesday to me, but a little bit better because by the time I get to the middle of my day, it's more like a Thursday. And then Tuesday is a Friday because I come in. It's a 12-hour, 13-hour day. And then I'm off for the rest of the week. I'm off until Saturday or I'm off until next Sunday. So yeah, that's why I categorize Tuesdays as a Friday. Deborah Cohen DJ has a time machine. Don't tell anyone. I want to see lighter than air mixed with helicopter engineering. I like the way you think, Psycho Dwarf 9. I really do. That's kind of cool. And that's never even occurred to me. I gotta give that some thought right there. But I like where you're going with that because I remember seeing like some interesting fictional airships where it's like in even in a Mobile Suit Gundam, Turn A Gundam, which takes place in a post World War I era, but in the far future. And they have these like lifting bags, like bags of gas balloons that are shaped like airplane wings. So as they go through the air, they kind of generate a little more lift than they otherwise would. And so imagine an airplane wing that has anti-gravity properties built into it. Granted, that's not how lifting gas works, but for all intents and purposes, kind of is. Ginger is not Ginger anymore because she is Marianne from Gilligan's Island. So anyways, get back on this. So they're putting like a lubricant or something like this because this is how this works, guys. So let me explain. So you put the pre-preg fiber onto this thing, right? And then it's all wet. Remember, so once the stuff hardens, you have a very strong material. Now, the thing is that metal thing, that cylinder that's underneath it right there, that steel cylinder is called a mandrel, and so they use a chain and they pull the form, that cylindrical form, from inside. So like if this is my carbon fiber sub, which I know is on the large side, usually have mandrel cylinder. You think it's gonna just slide right off? It might, because one of the things I was researching was in order to upgrade my robot, PDP 180, the robot, I want to make a robot head, or I want to make parts for PD out of carbon fibers. So I was looking into like making molds, because if you want to make a shape out of carbon fiber, you need a mold. So if I want to make any shape out of carbon, like a cube, I might use a cardboard box as a form. I might make a mold out of plywood. And when you put the carbon fiber in there, you're going to put the fabric inside of that mold, inside of that cube shape, let's say. You're going to brush on some wet, resin, and you're going to let it cure. And now you got to remove it from the mold. And so the problem is that the resin can cause that to get stuck to the mold, and you would have a bad time. So what you would do is you would apply a mold release. You would apply some wax or some kind of Crisco type spray to the inside of the mold or to the mandrel in this video so that it slides off. So that might be what they're doing here. But doing this, you can just imagine how it puts uneven strain on the fabric, on the fibers. And so now you got these imperfections. But that's not the deadly, thing that killed it. I mean, it's part of it. And no, I didn't get to the hilarious part yet. So, you see the theory of how this is put together, right? This kind of makes sense, I presume, right, guys? So there we go. Now, this angle is a little worrying because, like, people who know more about composites than I do, and there's plenty of people who do, you see bubbles in there. It's like, it is not perfect. It's like, I don't think people who... I question if people who knew what they were doing actually did this, or if they were a little arrogant. Now, thing is that, remember, on the end of that cylinder you have these titanium hemispheres, right? So you imagine a dome that you mount onto the end. This is carbon fiber. Let's just pretend this is carbon fiber here. You got to put a titanium dome here and a titanium dome on the opposite side, which we'll pretend is already installed. So you got two different materials. So you can't bolt titanium to carbon fiber, but what you can do is you can attach a titanium ring to the carbon fiber. So that's what we're seeing here.
Today is a critical.
Oh, this is fun. Okay, we're going to hear the guy. Please let me know if the sound is too loud or too incongruous. I will adjust the sound depending on what you guys say.
Uniform joining of the. Today is a critical joining of the titanium and the carbon fiber. That seal needs to be uniform and small, but not too small.
Is he stoned?
Level.
No, I don't think he's stoned. He's just maybe, high on life.
Do a good cleaning, check the surface out.
Wait, what did he say?
Level.
I didn't hear the guy.
Seal needs to be uniform and small, but not too small.
Level.
That's what she said. Uniform and small, but not too small.
Check the surface out. Check measurements between the two.
Yo, I swear to God, that guy who was just talking about measurements reminds me of the English-speaking guy from Mechagodzilla 2.
Two components, really what's holding them together and allowing them to move together, holding the family together.
Hello.
There's not a lot of recovery. And it's pretty simple.
So, I remember one guy was commenting that this guy's cleaning off the titanium part, but he's not wearing gloves. Now, I don't know if that's absolutely necessary, but it is a valid concern, whether or not you're supposed to be doing that. Also, in some composite manufacturing, you'll actually wrap it in some kind of bag and apply vacuum to it. Although I don't know if that's applicable here. But typically, if I had a fresh titanium part, a machined part, I would be cleaning it with isopropyl alcohol. That's what I would be doing to it, right? To get rid of the grease.
Mess it up, there's not a lot of recovery.
So yeah, if they mess it up, there's not a lot of recovery. So it is going to show us an important step. So right there, okay, there's our bare carbon fiber, right? Or a carbon fiber that's been, that's been cured. These guys are going to be applying glue, which is not really glue. It's like a type of resin, I believe. But let's see what he says.
It's very thick, so it's not like Elmer's glue. It's like peanut butter.
So in some of the videos in that playlist, they talk about ways that you would strengthen up that glue. So, for example, while I was shopping for upgrades for PD the robot literally today, you can buy powder that you mix with the resin, and what it does is it just thickens it up or adds whatever structural property that you're looking for that isn't already inherently part of the actual resin. So resin and fiber, that's going to give you a good combination of strength. But in areas where the resin alone needs to be built, given additional different properties of strength or whatever the case may be, you can imbue different properties by applying that type of stuff. So now, to do my, upgrades to PD, this is carbon fiber. So this is an example of basically of a twill weave cloth. And when you brush on the carbon fiber, I think sometimes the reviews, you'll actually see what people do with this stuff. So the thing was, there was two types of resin and hardener. I wanted to buy this stuff, but it's $50 plus $30 plus $30. Not a bad deal, actually. It's very good quality stuff, but if I could do it for cheaper, I'd rather do it for cheaper. So, especially as my first project. Maybe, if I want to get into really doing a lot of composites and things like that, maybe then. And you can see you can use resin on wood, but this isn't the only thing you would use it on. This is just an example of where people are using it on wood. Really, I was hoping to get a picture of, someone putting together a surfboard. I believe in one of these pictures, somebody did do the Mandalorian helmet. Yeah, I think under these reviews here. Yeah, here we are. So take a look at that. Let me just zoom in on that. So essentially, this guy took an existing shape and wrapped carbon fiber fabric around it. He applied I did start with Bondo, David Glenn. Good point. Good response. So actually, that's why I'm willing to take this next step. First time I messed with composites, I bought some, just carbon, fiberglass and Bondo. And my goal was simple. Make a flat piece of solid material out of fiberglass and Bondo. I was basically successful. I encountered some warping You know, I encountered some warping or flexing in it, but I do have a flat piece of fiberglass actually in the turtle room, and I was able to use my rotary tool to saw off the edges, you know, get the rough edges off. So that's another thing. I gotta remember to buy a diamond blade for the rotary tool so that I can more easily cut carbon, because carbon is a bit stronger. But that's why I'm comfortable going to this next step, because I have enough familiarity between. It's like the way I watched people do it. Then I bought Bondo and fiberglass. And I said, okay, I have a little more understanding. And then based on that, I was able to watch more videos and look at more pictures. And because I had some experience now, it's like, you know, practical experience can really help you level up. Sometimes even just like tinkering in the case of me and Bondo. So yeah, good suggestion, David. Where's my brain here? Glenn is either 69 or 72, maybe. Well, the girls would say 69, perhaps, or maybe they would just say on the knee. Okay. I'm sorry, girl, ladies. If there's any ladies watching, I apologize. I was gonna make a really like locker room style joke just now, but I'm just gonna like ask for forgiveness now and not continue with that joke. And maybe we have a boys' night one of these days where we could crack messed up jokes. I don't know. Maybe not, because you know what? I like hanging out with Floro from Under a Rock, and I like that he sets a good example of, you know, good values, and, you know, like being friends with a guy like Floro kind of teaches me not to drop the F word as often as a New Yorker like me would do. DJ's making a full body Kevlar robot suit. I love it. Well, we're gonna start with the neck and shoulders, but maybe we'll do a full body suit. Yo, I swear, like by the time I travel to Texas or something like that again, I might just show up in a freaking bar in the fucking full suit. Armor is cool. Yeah, man, my boy Cool is here. And his thing for the month of cool, because this is a cool month. I mean, it's a hot month, but it's cool to be in July. Is cool. He plays cool video games. He talks about being cool. He uses the cool emoji. He's just a cool all-around fella. Good cut resist is not so great versus the Kalashnikov. Always propping up the Ruskies, aren't we? Yes, David Glenn is cool. I do wholeheartedly concur. Lady Mist was here, maybe still is. Lady Mist is cool too. Coco is a good role model. The gorilla? I don't know. That's my sign language knowledge. Identity Thief Database. I think I'm about to be. I'm thinking about being the shoveler this Halloween. Ooh, that sounds dark. I like it. Yeah, the cool emoji is cool. So yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. So that's an example of like the fiber, you know, being put to work. There's different ways to do this. So here's my cool idea. So you're gonna love this. Well, I don't know if you're gonna love this, but I'll show you what I got. So yeah, I'm going to use the carbon fiber to upgrade this, but not quite directly, but I am going to apply some upgrades to this. But my problem, okay. So my problem was, oh God, I had a tangerine fall. Might be hard to see this, so I'll just get the other camera angle. Oh, good. You can see the lighting is good, right? You can see that. Okay, so this right here is chicken wire. I originally bought it for my turtles so that I could subjugate them. I mean, keep them safe. But now, jokes aside, it was, you know, like in case I wanted to set up an outdoor setup for the turtles, I can, you know, fence it in and make sure they don't get eaten by predators and whatnot. But this chicken wire, as you can see, it's got a very small square pattern, so it's not like your average hexagonal chicken wire, right? And basically, I came up with an idea. So if you want to make a mold for carbon fiber, you can use cardboard. You can even use cardboard as a base layer. So there's actually a video, a web page where a guy from the 80s has pictures on a modern website where he used carbon fiber to build like a bicycle trailer. And he needed to make wheel wells. So he took cardboard, corrugated cardboard, and he was able to fold it against the edge of a table to give it that curved shape. And using like score marks on the corrugations to help it get the right curve. And then once he had that curved shape established, he was able to just put the fabric on top of that and brush on the epoxy resin, and you end up with like a nice, like strong but light part. And the cardboard kind of remains part of it. I mean, it could technically the cardboard can absorb some of the epoxy, but the strength is being imbued by the actual, by the fibers and the resin together. The cardboard is really just there to hold it in the right shape until it's done curing. So you can use chicken wire as a mold, but there's a couple of methods. One method is to like put saran wrap on it, but if you do that, you're gonna get a very bumpy, fiber item. It's not gonna be really that smooth or nice looking. But what you can do alternatively is cover this in plaster. I guess plaster of Paris. And I'd imagine you can still wrap it in saran wrap or something like it, or put tape backing on it, like packing tape. And then you put the plaster. So what I would do is I would take this. This is in the shape of a roll right now. Huh. Let me just get this angle right. Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, basically, like, you can unroll. This came in a roll. That's why it's shaped like a roll right now. Because you see, like, this is just part of the roll. You can unroll it. I can bend it to whatever shape I want. And so, yeah, this is going to be like a fiberglass. I think this is what my go-to material for fiberglass molding is. Now, beyond that, I also have another idea. I want to make a puppet for the Strike Hyperion. And there's many manifestations of the Strike. But, here's one example. Okay, like, now the challenge is the Strike has 4 arms. I already bought those puppet rods. So, when you watch Punk Waddle or Floral operating their puppet and they have those little metal rods that hold up the wings or the hands. So I bought like 4 of those so that I can actually operate 4 arms. So if I can manage that, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to hold 2 puppet rods like this. It should be very bizarre. That's probably, that doesn't actually make sense. Yeah, I have to figure something out. But anyway, I realized chicken wire really lends itself to this because I have a box of barbed wire. You think I'm kidding, but I do have a box of barbed wire right over there. I have this wire right here to help. It's like just a spool. And that chicken wire, and I think between the chicken wire, I can cut it to different shapes and form it into shapes that would allow me to build like the upper body, the head, and the arms, or upper body and arms. And then the barbed wire and other pieces of wire would help me to form the dangerous shapes that we're seeing here. And then I have to figure out how to do the head. But, I mean, I got a couple ideas for that. I already tried building the head once and made it too big. And that's okay, because now I know how not to build the head. So unlike submarines, building puppets, you can do trial and error. But when you're building a submarine, trial and error doesn't work. And that's another thing about the man in charge of Ocean Gate, Stockton Rush, was that, he was a F-15 Eagle test pilot at some point in his life. He wanted to become an astronaut. He started looking down to the ocean when he realized that there's no way he's gonna be the first guy to step foot on Mars, basically, right? So with Elon Musk doing his thing and being way ahead of him on that, so he looks down to the ocean. Another thing is his wife is a descendant of great grandparents who died on the Titanic. Like this was a couple who had many kids before dying on the Titanic, who had many descendants before going on the Titanic. So he may have a little bit of an unhealthy obsession. Now, his company was doing all right, making money, doing the things they do in a above-board manner. But when they started making this submarine, it seemed that he started throwing the rule book, really throwing it out the window. And I suspect that, like one of the things I remember watching in these documentaries he was talking about was how, like, a lot of times they waste money on fuel. So just transporting the submarine out to a place, the submersible, to find out, oh, the weather is too inclement, we can't launch, we got to go back. That's a ton of fuel. And so when they first started doing these missions, they would have a larger boat that could hold the submarine. And that's like DSV Alvin. Alvin? Yeah, I think it's called Alvin. DSV Alvin maintenance. Let's see if we get a maintenance picture of it here. Basically, they have an enclosed space on the boat where they can perform maintenance on the thing. So I don't know if this is the right picture, but this looks like some kind of enclosed bay over here if I'm looking at it correctly. You can see like the type of ship that they're landing on apparently, but like point is that they have the ability to like perform maintenance from inside the ship while in situ. That's more expensive, but you know, that's the way to do it. And I don't know if I have a picture of the repair bay. You can see how they're able to winch it up and, you know, do things to the boat once it's on the big boat. So that's how you would do it. Now, they started towing the Ocean Gate submarine on a sled. So if we do like Ocean Gate sled, you'll see like this thing here that they can submerge and bring up and down from the water. But this sled, what they would do is when they started renting into smaller ships, they would literally drag this sled behind the boat 100 miles or a couple of 100 miles through the ocean. And I don't think that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back, but it wasn't helping the matters to have, you know, carbon fiber sub being rocked around on rough seas on this sled looking thing, you know? So anyway, when you're a fighter pilot, if you have an air leak on a fighter plane, oh, you going to bed? Or did someone else go to bed? Or do I have to just learn to read? I might have to learn to read. But yeah, it's wonderful having all of you guys here. If anybody wants to add anything, or if mods, you see a message that I should absolutely read, please let me know, because yeah, like, you know, like I'm, you know, working on that. You know, I don't want to read every chat, but I also don't want to neglect anyone, and I hope I greeted everybody who tuned in. Oh, James, did I greet you? I mean, I know I acknowledged your chats, but I don't think I actually said hi to you. But hi. The Shuffler from Mystery Men, William H. Macy. That dude has been in about 1,000 movies. All right, we're going to look up the Shuffler Man. Okay, so he doesn't have a shuffle. Oh, there he goes. He got a shuffle right there. All right. He looks like someone from Dune. Cool. I like it. I like it. And also, if I was in a fire, I would want him to be the guy to show up. What up, Indy? Yo, Indiana Jones. I enjoyed Indiana Jones July last year. That was awesome. I like a lot of things that Indy and his friends do. They should have created a warp bubble around the ship so they wouldn't have to deal with the warp. Right? You're absolutely correct, David Glenn. See, this is what I'm talking about, okay? You guys are talking about pseudoscience like Roswell, and here are me and David Glenn doing a big boy science right here. Stuff that totally exists for reals. Okay, I'm trolling you guys, but no, jokes aside, though, that is a good one. I do appreciate that. I got totally wasted with some coasties and dudes from the Woods Hole. Ah, I miss the 90s. Woods Hole. Oh, is that like Tiger Woods? Coasties. Is coasties referring to people from the East or the West Coast? Man, I'm so out of the loop on terminology. Either way, that was funny, Salty. I do appreciate that. Guns N' Roses, Power Salute, Groupie equal Rock Queen. Ooh. That sounds like a good time. And there's a song and dance numbers. Undersea Engineering Hour. David Glenn, Drag Queen, Undersea Engineering Hour. Oh, we should maybe next time do some Drag Queen Story Hour. Oh, so speaking of Drag Queens, we're gonna make a Sailor Moon musicals soundboard. I'm not even kidding. Look, I got like some videos here. I actually have some. I got actually like a DVD version of this shit. And there's actually some sound bites I can pull from this. The quality is really atrocious on a lot of these. But yo, like, I didn't have time before today's show. But next week we're gonna have some soundboards, baby. Alright, getting back on topic here. The submarine. Speaking of... By the way, guys, did I mention...
I trust you.
Wait, why isn't the sound coming out of that? Oh, I gotta switch. I need to figure out a way to play soundboards without having to manually switch my sound devices constantly. But I digress. That's a whole other thing. Woods Hole Oceanography. Ah, I see. That makes sense now. Coasties are Coast Guard service people. Ah, yeah, USCG. Got you. Thank you. And Toasties is the Coast Guard, according to Psychodwarf 9. That makes a lot more sense than... Yeah, I got you. Now, jokes aside, I understand now. More power. Oh, yeah, like Tim Allen. More power. Oh, I can't do the Tim Allen noise right now. You know the Tim Allen routine. Anyway.
All the things to the shortcut.
So this is really important here. So they're brushing on the adhesives, right? And they're putting it on the parts that are going to mate. And they have to lower this piece and it's do or die. And apparently, and they literally say this in the video. He goes, it's do or die. And apparently it's die. Ooh, probably found during uranium and plutonium centrifuge enrichment.
It'll go to 4,000 meters. Be the deepest dive.
3 degrees above zero is all about the invention of the transistor. Okay, that's interesting, because I'll be fair here. I know I harp on this angle that I don't believe that microcircuits, integrated circuits are the result of Roswell, but maybe there's something there with the material sciences and the temperatures of the things involved.
I'm going to be the first guy in the sub, so we will see. There. I'm going to be the first guy in the sub, so we will see.
We need some sound bites of that one. I need to have a button. I'm going to be the first guy in the sub, so we will see. So supposedly this guy was bullshitting people and telling them that carbon fiber gets stronger between launches because it gets tempered, like tempered steel or something. Like, oh yeah, the more you dive with it, the stronger it gets. I mean, yes, when you dive with it, it'll get stronger to a point. But the thing is this thing. So during some of the missions, some of the the submersions with this submarine, the guy had like a engineer or some expert on composites and material sciences, or a guy who knew about composites on the sub. And I learned about it 1986. I love apes and movies. Yeah, Planet of the Apes is cool. Dr. Zayas, Ministry of Cinematic Propaganda. Good evening. Never figured on living this long. I'd be killed by a nuclear winter by now. Yeah, but you know what? I think that, what was that shit? The Cuban Missile Crisis? Hype. I mean, come on. Was it really that dangerous? Come on. Okay, I'm joking about it. I should definitely, take time to hash out my words on that before trying to make a bold claim like that. I'm not married to the position I just expressed, but I'm also kind of I want to sell it. Sophomore year, that's absolute bullshit. Oh, I see. Never figured I'd be... Okay, it says, never figured on living this long. Figured I'd be killed by a nuclear winter by now. Sophomore year, that's bullshit. That's absolutely bullshit. I got you now. I didn't click on it. I clicked on the wrong thing. Like hell. Saran wrap was also introduced to American consumers soon after Roswell. So remember the movies about Roswell would have that foil, that aluminum foil that unfolds automatically? Go on eBay, buy nitinol. Nitinol. So nitinol is a metal that has properties that are quite comparable to the stuff in the Roswell TV movies. That that foil that unfolds where you crumple it up and it just unfolds. It's essentially like a memory foil, a bit like memory titanium that they would use in eyeglasses. But the thing about nitinol is, I mean, you could, fold it and cause a bit of a crease. But a lot of times if you make a weak crease or even you try to scratch it with your key, it will flatten itself back out. It will spring back to the original shape. Now, that said, nitinol does have a weakness. So if someone in the 40s brought home a sample of nitinol and didn't know what they were dealing with, they might not bother to do anything other than play around with it. But if you take nitinol and you put it on a stove and you heat it up to a high temperature, or not necessarily a terribly high temperature, but talking stove pilot, one that's set for boiling water, the nitinol, once you heat it up to a certain point, it becomes very brittle. In fact, it becomes so brittle, it's very dangerous. It breaks into very tiny shards. In fact, it becomes quite a lot like glass at that point. So nitinol is a bit like magic, but then the magic goes away once you heat it up. So I think that's the beauty about material science, is a lot of things that appear to be magical, they have their limits. They have a point where, like, you know, the magic is, you know, it's made clear that this is not magic. Although even then, it is an interesting material, and perhaps if you had a craft that was using that material in some capacity, that would have, you know, maybe appeared like something very exotic to people. Memory plastics, or if it was a weather balloon for real, maybe they were using nitinol on it for a radar reflector. I don't know. Memory plastics, right? Yeah, that's the running joke. All these things are forever chemicals. Yeah. So that's the thing about, like, my solution to, like, microplastics is to take all of the plastic, even the stuff you can't recycle, turn it into bricks, then wrap those bricks in silicone. Because apparently silicone doesn't produce microplastics, or if it does, it doesn't produce something that your body interprets as estrogen. Like, that's the thing, microplastics, some microplastics can literally, like, fill the keyhole for the estrogen receptors in a body. And so you can see where that might cause interesting issues. And, you know, that might be the real origin of the soy boy epidemic or pandemic. The Mylar they used on the Apollo lunar lander totally blocks out the Van Allen radiation belt. Totally. No, it does not. But I know what you're saying. But I am of the opinion that the entire Apollo missions, they were able to circumnavigate the Van Allen belt, either by finding a thin enough section, or by doing the mathematics that would allow them to cut through it, or go to a part, even a strong part of it, maybe not the strongest part. But I do believe you can fly through the Van Allen radiation belt. I don't really buy into the notion that this is an impassable obstacle. It's like, yes, some guy detected the Van Allen radiation belt. A lot of people did. We used nuclear bombs to kind of like map it to some extent. Or at least I think that nuking space helped us to map the what do you call it? The Van Allen radiation belts by being able to map the ionosphere. But yeah, I'm of the opinion that we could fly through there. But at the same time, when they were developing the Constellation capsule, there was, you know, it was mentioned in the video, and a lot of times people will use that soundbite to show, like, see, they never figured it out before. But it's like, no, you're building a new capsule, you're trying to get a newly space-rated capsule, a human-rated capsule, I should say. It's like, yeah, you gotta prove that this thing can repeat that feat. Also, of course, we're less risk-averse today, so chances are what we were willing to, you know, subject astronauts to 40 years ago, we're kind of too pussy to do it now. Or maybe there's a valid reason to not do that. You know, maybe we don't want to, you know, irradiate people. I mean, that's, yeah, it's good. It's categorically good to not irradiate people. Yep. Why do you think gay pride is so huge right now? Oh, yeah, here we are. So, real quick, I should catch up on this. These are things. But I do appreciate your comments, Salty Traveling Sea, and I appreciate your feedback, input, and your challenges. No, I'm kidding. You challenge me? I need to turn into a snowflake. I'll be back. I wish I had a button where I could turn into a snowflake, or maybe I disappear from the screen in a snowflake so I could pretend to be a snowflake for fun. But anyway, jokes aside, Teflon, PBA, PCB, anything that's heavier than air, made in the lab only, chemicals do not rot. Guess what? We all got microplastics in erectile tissues. I do not, because my erectile tissue is too big to be able to accommodate microplastics. That and women being out excess birth control hormones into the water supply. And why you why do you think that gay pride is so huge? So I think, like, yeah, part of it is like, you know, like organic, but yes, I mean, environmental stuff we've been doing since like the agro revolution, the green revolution, all of that shit. Yeah, there's something to it. And remember, they like badmouthed Alex Jones for saying the frogs are turning gay, and he was incorrect. The frogs are not turning gay, but the agrochemical, was it atrazine, does trigger the process in the frogs that causes frogs to change their biological sex. So there's some potential that if that atrazine chemical is in human water supplies, it may not have the exact same effect on humans, but it isn't a very well researched, you know, effect. I don't know how much atrazine we've given to mice to determine how it affects them, but Also, how do you determine if a mice turns gay? I mean, unless they're going up to other mice of the same, biological sex, how do you know you have a gay mouse on your hands? Whereas frogs, it's like, okay, this frog had a dick. Now it has ovaries. It's like, we know this frog has changed its biological sex. But I digress. So I do, especially with the trans thing, I'm very concerned for people. It's like, look, live and let live. I don't give a shit if someone doesn't bother me, but I don't like when things get pushed too aggressively. It's like, look, if a kid genuinely has a biological situation, yes, okay, embrace them, let them, speak to professionals, actual professionals. Unfortunately, we got a lot of activist psychologists now. It does make it very challenging. I can imagine it being challenging to be a parent under that situation, because if you try to talk your kid out of being trans, you'll get accused of grooming them, I guess, or what was the term for that? Conversion therapy. I mean, something like that. But it's like a logical parent would say, hey, look, I don't know where it's coming from. Are you sure this isn't a social fad? You sure you didn't get the idea of becoming trans from your classmates? But also, like, the thing is that I think, like, a good parent would say, hey, look, okay, if this is something you want to pursue, at least, give yourself time to grow past your teens. See if you feel the same way after you're a teen, because, why would anyone want to make an irreversible change to their body when they're a teen? If you still feel when you're 21 or whatever that this is a thing you want to do it. But it's like, it is a tragedy that kids in some states like California are talked into going to court, getting representation from the state. But the logic is that, oh, well, this is the best time to get your bottom surgery. This is the best time to take the hormone therapy while you're 16, while you're 17, while the state provides it to you for free. And so that's, what the kids get convinced to fight for. And then they're told all through the process that you can reverse it at any time. And I don't even mean to be jumping the shark. This is a topic that I'm somewhat profoundly ignorant on. So I apologize if I inadvertently, express inaccurate information or otherwise sound biased, because I'm sure I'm carrying a bit of a bias here. But, supposedly these kids are told that they can reverse the process at any time. And then when some of them decide they want to reverse it, they realize they really are on their own. I mean, they can go to the process, they can go to a doctor, hell, the insurance might even cover it. But it's on them. There's not going to be the state giving them free handouts while they, recover from their, reverse hormone therapy, whatever the fuck you call it. And there are certain things that you cannot reverse. So it is an absolute lie to tell kids that they can change their sex or change their gender or alter their biological hormones and physically, chop off parts they were born with. It is really messed up to tell them that they can reverse that when it's obvious that some of those things can't be reversed. It is a messed up lie. And yeah, it's a very shitty situation. I didn't mean to go down that dark rabbit hole, but I just wanted to express that position on the matter because it is some kind of bullshit. Check out hormones from the fill in groundwater. The fill in ground, the pill. Oh yeah. I did hear a little bit of something about this Psycho Dwarf 9 and read some articles. It was very interesting. Your progesterone makes me think you're knocked up too. Oh, do I have a warm glow? Some people say pregnant women look more beautiful when they're pregnant. How do I look while I'm pregnant? Do I look good? Huh? Okay, jokes aside. DJ Ronnie G, your shows are refreshing. Ultra deep tech nerd-tastic. Love it. Thank you, Salty Traveling Sea. I enjoyed your Woo Woo Wednesday show, and if you do more of those, I would delightfully tune into those. I don't know if you called it Woo Woo Wednesday, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that type of content you was doing, and and the collaboration with Purple Valkyrie, like that's just a good time and good company. My Pisson, is that a car? Oh, Paisan. Hey, hello, Paisans. With the big, oh yeah, I did make a big swinging schlong joke earlier. How far behind the chat am I? Oh yeah, we got extra nipples. That counts you nipples, Ronnie. They all got puffed up during sexual. Aw. That's terrible. That's so bad. What happened to living and working as the opposite sex for 2 years before any treatment begins? Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. It might be a thing in some states. It might even be a thing in California still. But that's reasonable. It's like when you're dating a girl and you want to get married and people say, how about you live with your girlfriend for a year before you get married? Make sure you don't drive each other nuts before you get stuck behind a bunch of legal paperwork. Or gauges, like you're doing ayahuasca in the South American rainforest. So ayahuasca is interesting. So ayahuasca supposedly has taken hardened dope addicts, heroin addicts, opioid addicts, people who couldn't quit any other way. They take ayahuasca, they never do dope again. That just seems fucking amazing to me. There is a like 10% chance of death when you do ayahuasca or when you go on a retreat, but it does sound... I do. What do I want to know? Oh, that. Oh God. Yeah, of course I want to know if I'm pretty. You really want to know? Ask Yiz the eunuch. Yiz the eunuch. Not until we can alter their genome. Genome. I'm sorry, it's a G unit reference there to anybody who knows 50 Cent. Yiz is actually intersex. Oh shit. Okay, so because I know the Z gender. You know, so it's like he, she, they, them, Z. I forgot the other ones. And therefore sterile. Also right now as a registered nurse or physician's assistant. Ah. It used to be the norm in the sex change industry. Ah. Knows biochemistry. Knows the biochemistry from university. Ah, I got you. Ibogaine is a better treatment option for... yeah, I did hear about Ibogaine. I heard that's pretty comparable or better, apparently, in your opinion. And actually, it does sound... I remember the word Ibogaine coming up a lot in those circles, so I don't doubt it, David Glenn. Magic mushrooms, huge high about every 18 months. Yeah, so the thing with magic mushrooms is like, you do them, I mean, if someone does them once, it's like, you get ego death. Like, you have one of those experiences where you're just like, what is name? Why have a name? What is friend? What is anything? Why are there walls? Who needs walls? What are walls? Where am I? Who am I? What is this? What is this universe? What is this shit I'm connected to? You know, people ask these weird questions to themselves. And then the same person does it a week later or a few days later, and it's not quite the same impact. But I think you're right that like huge high every 18 months. Yeah, I think that's true. It's not so much a high as it is an experience. Greetings, chat and DJ. I hope everyone is good. Oh, we're bad right now. We're being very bad, but yeah, we're doing well. Thanks for asking. I hope you're doing well too. Anime Night 1992, the year I was in kindergarten. Did you know that? I was in kindergarten in 1992, and I got my first Nintendo maybe a year earlier. About the same as the South American thing, minus the plane ticket. Ah, okay, got you. So anyway, let's see. So we gotta finish up this submarine here. So basically, the mating surface where the glue meets the mounting ring for the stuff. Here we are. So problem is when they put some glue on this part of the carbon here. In fact, you can see the glue right here. And I remember one of these guys doing a video was saying that when they put this piece over this piece, you didn't see any of the glue coming out. So if you put an excess of adhesive or you put too much glue in there, as you put in the ring on there, some of it's going to come out. And I don't see an issue of having too much glue there. Maybe there's a reason why they didn't want too much glue. Maybe there's a valid reason why you want there to be less glue. Maybe like, you know, having a glob of glue sticking out that's not properly reinforced is inherently a liability. It can form a crack and let stuff in. But, I mean, this thing died like, what, a dozen times or more than 12 times, at least 12 times. But this is the thing that I wanted to share. It was interesting. So this guy had an engineer or some kind of material scientist on the submarine. And during a dive, you hear these shotgun noises in the hull. You know, like these noises. And they come back up from the water, and you'll hear them, like when it's diving, you'll hear it. And then when it's emerging back from depth, when it's coming back up, you'll hear the noises again. So essentially what's happening, you'll hear like something in the carbon fiber when it's being put under pressure. And then when it's releasing the pressure, you hear a similar set of noises. And so this guy has an exchange of angry emails with Stockton Rush, the guy in charge of the company. And he's like, dude, it's only going to get worse from here. Like, you got to stop diving with that sub. Or if you're going to keep diving with the sub, you got to stop bringing passengers on it. And you got to take that thing up and down like 3,000 times. Because basically the logic being that, like, that's how you would certify a sub normally. A titanium sub, you can dive that thing 1,000 times and bring it back up. And if it doesn't break at that point, you're basically good. And even then, when metals give, they flex a little bit. Like in real large submarines, granted they don't go quite as deep, but in nuclear submarines, even World War II diesel subs, when you dive to a certain depth, you could have a rope or a cable hanging across the inside of the sub, and you'll see that cable sagging. So, you know, these things happen, you know, I mean, like, that's normal, but carbon's not going to give. So the interesting thing was, one of the things I didn't really touch on was like the chronicle of events when the thing went wrong. But real quick, let me just, that sounds cool. So anyway, the point is to face yourself via checking out for modernity for 36 to 48 hours. Interesting. It was part of a sweat lodge ceremony. Cool. If you're not ready to be you, self-hypnosis can be... Yeah, that's true. I wish we had Cardinal Sin with us. May he rest in peace. He had some interesting experiments about a regression therapy. I believe regression hypnosis. And I remember he was warning people. He's like saying, like, if you're not ready for it, or, you know, once you open that door, you can't close it. So if you go to regression hypnosis and you realize you were abducted by aliens and it freaks you the fuck out, there's no closing that door. The angry bully isn't really punching my nose because that's who he is. It's my fault for putting my face in his way, etc. Oh, yeah, true. You got to get that out of your system. He sheeped out and oversold like every marketing asshole ever. Yeah, I think that's part of it. But and the other part was I think he was obsessed. It was like his wife was, you know, a descendant of Titanic people. He wanted to, you know, make this a thing that he accomplished. He wanted to be like, this was his way of showing that he could walk on Mars. Hey, look, we could fly to the Titanic. He might have wanted to have a cheap fleet of submarines so he could make even more money off of it at the same time. And he was ignoring the signs. And so in the chronicle, or in the video that shows you, like, you know, the process of the submarine diving, they have this thing called a real-time monitoring system. And it's basically a series of microphones. Let me see here if I can find an example.
Experience. The robot used to search speak of hypercapnia, and the subject enters into hyperventilation pressure than the internal one, for which they suddenly gave way, and the result was a collapse of kilograms for each square centimeter.
All right, so this ain't the right video. Basically, there's a series of microphones wired up on the inside of the carbon fiber cylinder, and the idea was that he was overconfident, or he alleged that he was confident in the real-time monitoring system. So when the microphones start picking up a ton of noises, it's like, okay, that's a sign we should, you know, come back up. In this case, what happened during this mission was they were having some trouble, I think, with controlling their buoyancy, and the real-time monitoring system was kicking off alarms. So at that point, the inside of that submarine are already hearing noises. They're hearing those ugly crunching sounds, right? They're hearing the noises. And like, basically, like I mentioned earlier, that diving and emerging from depth, the thing would make these noises. And it's like, those noises are probably the noises of fiber breaking or cracks forming in the complete composite hull. It might be water delaminating layers. So maybe the water is pushing itself through the layers of fabric, and it's like not going through all the way, but as it's pushing through the layers, you're getting delamination of the layers that are basically fabric that's glued together. And maybe it's like you're hearing like and during this last dive, the noises got a lot more aggressive, and around the same time they like realized they couldn't bring the thing up. And my theory is that as delamination was happening, there was already water inside the carbon fiber, layers of carbon fiber, and so it was no longer neutrally buoyant, or it was no longer as light as it was before. It was heavier because it was literally carrying a bunch of water. And so they had to drop the ballast, they had to drop some weights, and they started floating up at that point. But by that point, you're hearing noises that they never heard before. And he ignored the noises that the boat was making multiple times before that. And so, you know, once it was compromised, whether it delaminated or not, most likely the middle part shattered into a bunch of pieces, and then the two domes kind of went like that or something. But either way, in any video that you watch about this, any expert who talks about this, these people probably didn't have time to feel the thing imploding. You know, it would have been quicker than they could feel it. So everything would have exploded or imploded. So when submarines implode, the air gets put under pressure and it creates a fire. Almost like when you put it under enough pressure, it gets hot and things go on fire. That kind of happens during implosion and implosion and explosion at the same time. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Static. Is it staticky now? Testing 1 2. In all seriousness, is this better? I gotta play it back in my own sound and hear this. I want to hear what I sound like. Let me mute. Thank you, gentlemen. And ladies. Okay. Okay. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. I think I know what caused it. I think I was sitting too close to my mic. I'm listening to it right now. I'm playing it back real quick. This take me 8 seconds. It won't take me long. Okay, I'm gonna yell into the mic. It's a delay. I'm waiting for it. Yeah, I was talking into it close. All right. Well, I appreciate that, and yeah, I've been working on that. Like, I practice on my mic. I record some audio, and I do this thing where I make sure I don't sit too close. Because one thing I learned is during my recorded videos, if I sit too close to the mic, the sound is too muddy. And I'll be covering audio soon because I've learned a lot about these two microphones and hooking them up through XLR and USB. And yeah, I want to share what I learned using preamps. I have a little inline preamp, and I have another preamp that is of superior make that we're gonna be comparing it. What up, Slim? Good to see you, bud. DJ needs hold music for his QA checks. I know, right? Back 5 minus 5. 5 times 5. So he says 25, but he said 0. Right? Because 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. But jokes aside, what up, Timberghini Tube? Yo, you had some fire videos recently. I gotta tune into your crap. I mean, no, seriously, I bookmarked a couple of your videos in my playlist. Timbo, you changed your name. It used to be Timberghini, like a Lamborghini. But jokes aside, yeah, Timbo, you know, had some interesting stuff I want to check out, and I bookmarked it. I cannot recommend good Bluetooth earbuds. No headphone magnets, RF BS. So I got like, you know, good wired headphones. I actually have a pair of Sennheisers right over here. See? But, oh, I'm sorry for that. These are wired into my interface, but I actually do have Bluetooth headphones here. This is my secondary pair of bone conduction headphones. I got new ones under warranty, but these are amazing headphones. They have good noise cancellation, like if you're riding your bike or jogging in the wind, they cancel out background noise. I'm going to wear these. Anytime I wear the robot helmet, these are the headphones I'm going to wear, and I got to do some tests. I need to make sure that the noise cancellation doesn't disrupt itself when doesn't disrupt the microphone when it's inside a helmet, but I believe I can make this work. Seriously, if you have a smartwatch, that could be part of it. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so if I was wearing Bluetooth, the EMI, or my smartwatch, I think mostly it's just me being too loud. Also, I admit to something. This USB cable needs to be replaced. Like, you'll see this little tape over here. See? So that's basically just so that I get the green light and it works, but it's still a little sketchy. So I keep putting off on replacing it, but I will be replacing that cable very soon. Believe it or not, that's a USB Type C to USB Type B cable right there. Yo, have a good night, Psycho Dwarf 9. I'll try to be more succinct next week. But jokes out, I do appreciate that. And I hope you have a wonderful night, pleasant dreams, and I'll see you tomorrow morning if you tune into Loki's Mornings of Mischief, who will be on in the morning. Well, obviously in the morning. 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Oh, if you want to holler. Oh, if you want to holler, you got to keep the basic gain about minus 15 dB. Yeah, don't even get me started. I have like my audio filters painstakingly configured. I mean, there's always room for improvement. But this cable, I can't rule out the cable being at fault. So real quick, let's see here. So what was I? So basically, yeah, submarines making those noises and like, yeah, like you said, I think you guys already summed it up pretty well. Profit, blah, 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 etc. But I think the guy had an unhealthy obsession. I really think that, like, okay, so what I'm saying is that he had a larger boat that he would rent for the submarine, and then to save money, he would start renting a crappier boat, a smaller boat. And that's when they would drag the sled. So it seems to me that, like, they were a little strapped for cash. You know, you deal with investor capital, and you got to be able to show the investors you can make profit. And so, you know, cutting corners lends itself to a point to proving to investors that you can do these things, right? And I think that he was afraid of, you know, committing to making a third hull. He was afraid of giving. He didn't want to give up, but he also wasn't going to dare say, oh, we need to build a third submarine. He's like, you know, he wanted this to be it. And unfortunately, he got so narrow, tunnel vision. The tunnel vision was so tight, and he was willing to risk his life, and he's willing to, like, trick people into risking their lives. On one angle, he did advance science by, you know, giving his life and his passengers' lives. Actually, they're not passengers. Remember, when you're on an Ocean Gate sub, you are a crew member. Because you're not allowed to kill passengers, but you're allowed to kill crew members. So if you train them as crew members and you make them part of your crew, it kind of makes it legally okay. I did change it simpler, better. The name Timbogini Tube is now Timbo Tube. He changed his name. Better for the search algorithms. Also, I found that when I searched my name, it was automatically filled in with Lamborghini. Yeah, autocorrect and, you know, the search thing. I got you. That makes a lot of sense. It's the cable then. Start small. Yeah, I mean, it might be the cable. It might be the settings. But yeah, I'm going to rule out the cable because it needs to be changed anyway. It's overdue for a swap-a-roo. I even have I have a ferrite core on here too. I added the ferrite core myself. Oh, yeah. I have some videos in the past, but I will be doing some new videos soon, Timbogini Tube, on microphone configuration and audio filters. Essentially, the lower wattage stuff and things. You might think that the Dollar Tree USB they made for 0.8 cents is actually worth more than 1/16 of a dollar. Oh, do you think? Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, it's not going to be. This is the cable that came with the microphone. I usually buy Anchor or Anchor cables. I'm pretty happy with those for the most part. And sometimes I'll get cables to go or monoprice cables for the astronomy equipment. That all has worked out pretty well for me so far. So real quick, what did we not do today? So obviously we're just gonna end the Ocean Gate thing here because I think I'm gonna talk in circles. My brain is kind of like turning into clay right now, and I don't think I could add anything of value at this time. Maybe we'll talk about it briefly again in the future. Maybe I'll organize my thoughts and make a short presentation ahead of time. But what did we not do? Well, this is Space Engine. We all know Space Engine. This is our solar system. And my gamepad doesn't work because I have to close and reopen the app in order to use my gamepad. So we're not going to do that. But essentially, our solar system, that right there is an asteroid called Sedna, which I would consider a dwarf planet. So you got all of the planets we know, up to Neptune on the plane of the ecliptic. And then you got Pluto, you got Haumea Makemake, and you got Eris on the far end on a 600-year orbit. And basically, why am I talking about this? Well, basically, I used a feature called the Camera Path Editor. And we're not in full screen mode right now, but just to give you an idea, the Camera Path Editor lets you record a path where your camera is flying like this, right? And why would you do this? Well, basically, I want to record a high-quality video of me flying through space. But if I use OBS, if my computer has any trouble handling the graphics, it's going to skip, it's going to stutter. So what you do instead is you record a camera path. And that's what I did. You can see I did a tour of the solar system. You can see that I did a tour. In this case, I did a flyby. In fact, let me just show you. So we did a flyby. We flew out from the sun. I'm fast forwarding it to save time. And then watch this cool trick I did. Wait. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah. So what's cool is that, we fly past the Earth. And then we keep going. And then we fly to Haumea, which is shaped like a dinosaur egg. Then we fly to the next dwarf planet called Makemake. You can see I control my orbit. Then we fly to Makemake's moon. Then we fly to Ceres, that's asteroid in the asteroid belt, which is considered a dwarf planet. It's our nearest dwarf planet since it is in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Then we fly to Eris. Now, Ceres we have real pictures of. Eris we do not have real pictures of. It's just we identified it, we measured it, we know, like, we have an idea of the spectroscopy, the types of wavelengths of light are being reflected, but that's it. Pluto, we did a fast flyby. So the New Horizons mission, in order to get to Pluto in a 10-year period, it had to basically go fly real fast. And there's no way to slow down once you have all that momentum and no rocket fuel behind you. So it got clear pictures of one side of this planet. Unfortunately, I can't show you Sputnik Planitia because it's covered up by the shadow, the Terminator line. But what's cool about this is you can see we got very detailed textures on one side of Pluto. And yes, these purple lines represent the Camera Path Editor. We got very detailed lines on one side of Pluto. But watch what happens when we get to the other side in a moment. Right there. So what happened was, as the New Horizons probe is flying past Pluto, it's getting these really great pictures. Then it keeps going. It keeps going, and it takes pictures of the other side of the planet as it's rotating. Let me just get a picture real quick. And that's why half the planet is blurry. But even from this blurry camera angle, you can, if I fly out enough, you do see this is better than what we had before. And I'll show you exactly what we had before the New Horizons probe. Trying to find an ugly picture of Pluto. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. That's why the frame rate is dropped, because I'm clicking on other things. That is on purpose. I'm well aware of what it's doing there right now. So I remember like when I used to go to Wikipedia to look at pictures of Pluto, you get a picture of something like this. And you can see how the original picture is a series of pixels with shading, and then these are like enlarged and I guess anti-aliased or otherwise, you know, smoothed out images. So I remember like people were posting, you could look up the Reddit post, people were looking at this picture saying, wow, I can't wait to see what the new Horizons probe picks up. And then that's how we get these pictures. So this is before it's getting close to Pluto. You get these types of images, and then as it's getting to the actual close flyby, that's how we finally got this imagery here. So in fact, that blurry side of Pluto might have been captured during the initial approach as opposed to the flyaway. But anyway, that we do have real pictures of. That's a dwarf planet that we have actual real pictures of now that are clear. But that doesn't apply to, you know, the other 3 dwarf planets that we mentioned, and it doesn't apply to Sedna, which is, you know, the one that's way, way out here, right? The one that I, you know, this one here. So actually, let's go to Sedna. So anyway, what's cool is once we generate the video, this is a video I generated using the camera path editor. And let's say I wanted to play 120 frames per second. And my computer can't handle 120 frames per second in real time. Well, it'll generate the video. It'll take twice as long to generate the video. So in other words, like what I mean is, when you generate a camera path, I can play it back. But see this button here? This will play it back and record a video using these video settings. So if I tell it, hey, you know, use an engine frame rate of 60, but a video frame rate of 120. Or maybe I want to use an engine frame rate of 120, or maybe I want to use an engine frame rate of 240. Doing this will actually make the video play back over a longer period of time. So by mixing and matching the engine and video frame rate, you can sort of control the speed at which it plays the recording. But essentially the idea is that my computer might not be able to handle doing this in real time, although it seems to be doing all right now. But it can handle playing a video that was generated in not so real time. And so what I did with the camera path editor was I basically did multiple passes under different settings, and you can see like I got the soul fly out. So here's one. Okay, this one's 8 frames a second. It's only 52 seconds and it's very fast. This one's 1560. This one is twice as long. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds. 30 by 60 frames per second. Now it's a 3-minute video. 6060, a 7-minute video. So, you know, essentially it's the same camera path that took me 5 minutes to record, but I can generate a video that's anywhere from 1 minute long to 30 minutes long, depending on what combination of frame rate settings I apply. And the video will be flawless. Now, there are some challenges to the camera path editor. If you look at the bottom left corner, you see the date and time is actually paused. And that's because if you don't pause the date and time, everything's rotating around the sun. So by the time you record your camera path and go to record a video based on your camera path, have a good night, Salty Traveling Sea. Thanks for dropping by, and I appreciate your viewership. And it was good talking to you, and, you know, have a good week. I hope you have a wonderful night's sleep and pleasant dreams. So anyway, yeah, bottom line, I got a split too. But anyway, bottom line is, you know, we're going to play with this. I showed some video samples a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I'm still working on it. And I wasted some time during my weekend. That's why I'm showing this to you right now, because I wasted a bunch of time during... Oh, did I have sunburn? I think I have a little sunburn on my neck here. It'll go away. Anyway, yeah, so that's something that I'm working on, because I want to create content, or I want to create like a cool moving background or something, you know? So that's a work in progress. What else do we have here? Yeah, I hear you, man. I appreciate that. I hope you have an excellent evening and day as well, Tim. Thanks, man. Not many ingredient. Oh my God. Yeah, I watched a guy. He was so tight about people switching to NVIDIA. He had some interesting points actually about DaVinci Resolve on Linux and how it doesn't have like certain functionality on AMD based hardware. And that doesn't really stop me, but I can understand where he's coming from. And now that content creator who's ranting about DaVinci and proprietary software, he got me thinking, I should test out DaVinci on my Steam Deck. I installed it, but I should actually try to edit a video on my Steam Deck and see how far I get before something stops working, like the neural engine or the deinterlacing or something. So anyway, I think we covered everything. Oh, triangulation tech, a new application of the physics engine software. I guess so. Oh, so that's one of the things about the camera path editor that was interesting. So if I manually fly into a planet, if I'm controlling it, the planet is here and then it gets into the picture. So the planet is small and then you fly into it and it fills up your screen. Now, something you could do in Space Engine is you can click on a planet or type in a name and press the letter G, and it'll automatically go to the planet. So my logical idea is run the camera path editor, record the camera path, click on a planet, tell it to go, and that's going to be a precise way. So I can say fly to Jupiter. Then I can click on Mars, say fly to Mars, or I can go and click on Jupiter's moons and tell it to fly to each of Jupiter's moons automatically, which is all good and dandy. But one of the things it would do is when you fly into a planet, it would zoom in on the planet like this, and then the planet would fill up your screen. It would go like, it would bounce back and forth, and it would ruin it. And so I had to change some of the settings in the camera path editor. This is something we're going to explore in greater detail, possibly in the form of an upload. But yeah, I hope I have something to show for it next week that you guys can revel in or enjoy. Or maybe we'll just do something fun and take a tour of the nearest star systems. That's actually one of the things I'm particularly interested in doing, is generating a camera path where we tour our nearest star systems and get a 3D representation, which, granted, is something that you can better accomplish using an application called Open Space. But Open Space is more of a scientific application. So there's a hell of a learning curve. Holy crap, it's been nearly 2 hours. I gotta get to bed. So anyway, keep the donkey clowns away. ETA Prime or Level 1 Text covers that, I think, on Sunday. Covers what? The AMD open source software thingamajig? That's good to know. Cyberdrunk 2077. And do we have Salty Traveling Sea here, by the way? I have to add a link to Salty Traveling Sea's channel. I mean, he doesn't really do content anymore, but he has a really good video about the Charlie Brown Christmas movie, and you know, like every Christmas you should watch that video to reconnect with our American roots. But jokes aside, it really is a good video and a fantastic narration, and you know, just very meaningful and poignant, if I'm using that word correctly. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank Lady Mist, James, David Glenn, Salty Traveling Sea, who else was? Timborghini Tube, who is now rebranded as Timbo Tube. I would kill to get his link up right now, but I'm being lazy, alright? I got you, Timbo, because I like you. Not like that. Weak. No, I'm kidding. Jokes aside. I keep saying that. Timbo Tube. And go visit the legendary Tron. Tell him what up. Leave him a comment. You know, just be chill. Is Tron? Let me see if I got Tron here. I just dropped the link for Tron, hopefully. Holy crap, I got a lot of backlog. I gotta update the stream elements thing too. Okay, but oh, there we go. See, we got Tron. So I just put a Tron link in the chat along with Timbo Tube. I'm sorry, Tim. It's gonna take me Timbo Tube. It's gonna take me a little time to memorize that, but I got you. Charles Schultz, atheist, but not an arrogant shot. I know what you meant. An arrogant prick. Ah, I get it. A prick. I got it now. Just a little prick. So anyway, I'm sure I'm neglecting some names here. Oh yeah, Pop Culture Mechanic has a show tomorrow night. It's called Trades Talk Tuesday. It's part of my Friday routine. It brings me great joy. It was good to see Psycho Dwarf 9 tonight. It was good to see our boy Slim. I hope I got that programmed in there. Anime Night 1992. I don't know if I have you programmed in, but Anime Night 1992 also does content and has interesting panels. Dr. Zayas, I got to put all of your links into my element spot. All of them. So many. But we're going to put the Cool channel. We're going to put Cool in there today because so this is the Cool channel. Oh, did you guys hear my fart just now? I mean, I didn't fart, but if I did you hear it? Virtual chase camera would be a super cool feature. Oh, that would be, there is, in Space Engine, there is a spacecraft mode. So instead of being in a camera mode, it'll fly either like a capsule that's kind of tumbling and floating, or under thruster. You could control it in automatic or manual mode. And that actually, I was reading it up on that, and it's reading up on the issue I was encountering, and that might be one of the valid solutions. I did find a workaround, but aside from the workaround I found, there may be a way to leverage the spacecraft mode. So yeah, I think we covered all of the stuff here. Snacks and Friends may or may not be streaming tomorrow night. I may or may not be streaming with him tomorrow night, if he does stream it. And I think Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips has a special stream tomorrow night. He did invite me. I told him that I usually just get home from dinner around that time. I just get home from work and eat dinner around that time. So I'd be happy to touch base with him once I settle down and make sure that I don't have any, model kit building with Punk Waddle and Snacks. But yeah, so Real Wade, let me see if we have, I hope I don't have to type in his whole name. But that's an option too for you guys to check out. Real Wade Gaming Nation Clips. So it's one word. Real Wade Gaming Nation Clips. I thought you were explaining Computers.com's favorite duck video. Huh. I gotta double check that. Oh, I get it. The fart. Yeah, I mean the duck video I was playing in the back. Yes, I was playing the duck video. That's correct. That is correct. So anyway, in all seriousness, we're gonna run the outro. Thank you, James. I appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone who hung out tonight. And I gotta be up at 5 a.m. My work week isn't over yet, but it will be over soon. But of course, we're gonna play back the usual video that we play back. And I got good news. I think I'm gonna try to play the full Gundam song, because I believe that the song, the TV length version of the song that's in this video, I can use it in its entirety without any additional problems. So I'm going to investigate that, because, then I can I can add more characters. You're going to see in this outro how I'll do a little commentary here. Sound check, 1, 2, yep, here. Ooh, the noise of metal scraping on space. The not so final frontier. Unless you fall asleep on command, I cannot. In fact, I'm completely wired now, James. I'm gonna have trouble sleeping probably. I'll take a nap. Too late. Okay, I can't sing Japanese like that. So basically, if I use the whole song, I can add more characters, right? Like we got Whooper Trooper and Punk Waddle here. So if I could play the whole song, I could put the entire freaking Cotton Connection. Got any versus Zentradi? Who versus Zentradi? I will have to get back to you about that. As far as I'm aware, I presently do not, and playing anything from Macross can easily get the video completely blocked. So, I'm very careful about using anything involving Zentradi, my clones, or UNEF. The end of the war versus Zentradi was the most... Yes, the end of Space War 1 was quite interesting indeed. And even after that, some of the stuff going on was quite interesting. I mean, heck, I really like the world building and the chronology of the Macross lore. Pop Culture Mechanical, we will be having on in the not too distant future about Macross. He didn't like Macross 7 because of very good reasons. In fact, if you watch the previous episode when I had Pop Culture Mechanic on this show, you can hear from his mouth why. But in short, he didn't like how the character who piloted the big red mech in Macross 7, he was always getting in the way of the pilots. I know, I was supposed to end this right now. was always getting in the way of the pilot. So it's like he's playing music while these guys are in combat, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm doing whatever the fuck I want." And basically, it's like you got the soldiers trying to protect the people on the city ship, on a generational ship, and this guy just showing up with his fucking guitar, doing whatever he wants, not really being very appreciative of the people who put their lives on the line. Oh, I shared the wrong channel. So Cool doesn't have a channel. I need to get his other channel. Oh, crap. I can't remember his other channel right now. I'm so confused. I thought this was the right... Oh, it is the right channel. Never mind. Yeah, so the Cool channel, you got to click on the live section for his recent streams. But anyway, Humanity vs. Centrality, I saw some of those in syndication. Got you. Well, we will be touching on Macross in multiple angles, in the not too distant future on this channel. And, I got to see, I don't want to hog all the glory, so I'll speak to Pop Culture Mechanic, see if he wants to do anything on his channel as part of a collaboration. But yeah, with that being said, let's finish the clip out. And yeah, if I could get away with using the entire song here, then we can add Content Connection people to it. See, look, man, people in the background. You can put all kinds of puppets on there. So anyway, for real, we are going to hereby conclude this show. So I want to thank you all for watching. For anybody watching on the replay, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. Please like and